This is Andi Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and I'm joined by Matthew Hatton over Zoom. Matthew, how are you doing?
I'm not too bad, thanks, Andy.
It's good to hear, mate. We'll start off with this past weekend before we do move on to Campbell's recent announcement for his next fight. Obviously, Damien Chambers, your charge unsuccessful against Alan Babic. Just reflecting on it, Matt, your thoughts on the fight?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those where obviously there's things Damien could have done better. He spent a lot of time on the ropes, pulling away with his hands down. But again, it's certain, he lost the fight, but, I'll never call any of my fighters or put any of my fighters down. The only time I will ever do that is if it was down to a lack of effort. And it certainly wasn't that. Damien stepped up to the plate. It was a big ask for him. He took the opportunity, and applaud him as a fighter and as a man. There was things that he could have done better, but he showed tremendous heart. Even the finish, when he got caught, he was still firing back. So it certainly wasn't down to a lack of effort or lack of heart. And I applaud him for taking the opportunity, which is what it was. It was an opportunity, even though they was billing the fight as a heavyweight fight. Only my opinion, Babic is not a heavyweight. He was under 15 stone. He weighed on. He had a big metal hat on. And Babic, for me, should be fighting at cruiserweight. So it was a fight against another cruiserweight who'd only had 6 fights, untested. It was a big ask for him, big opportunity on a big stage. As it panned out, it turned out to be a little too much. But again, it was worth rolling the dice, and it didn't pan out this time. Sometimes we get it wrong. If we didn't get it wrong, we'd never lose a fight, would we? So, Damien's still in a good position. He's a highly ranked cruiserweight. We said even before the fight, that's where Damien's future is, at cruiserweight, probably on the verge of the top 10. So I'd like to see Damien maybe target the English title. I think that's the level he's at now. Damien's obviously out of the gym this week. We've chatted a few times on the phone. He'll come down next week and we'll chat about his future. But Damien's still got good nights in the cruiserweight division, and hopefully the whole experience will make him a better fighter.
Now the fight's been and gone, Matt, what was the initial game plan? How did you guys want to approach the fight with Alan Babic? Everybody beforehand just said it was going to bring fireworks no matter what. So can you just expand on the game plan now?
He did, that's what Babic does, didn't he? And he was always going to do that. It was no shock. I think Damien needed to get his respect a little bit more and let his hands go a little bit more. But it's a big ask, when someone's putting that amount of pressure on. Babic comes out, and he did what he did. He was letting his hands go, and nobody's been able to withstand that so far. I've seen Babic fight a few times, and I've watched him, and my initial reaction was, even though I'm a fan of Alan Babic, he's a crowd pleaser, a great fighter to watch. But even when I've watched him in the past, I thought, you know what? He comes across someone who can box, move, and has got some power and can punch. He might come unstuck. And I thought that man might have been Damien. It proved out I was wrong. But I think Damien needed to get that respect early on, and unfortunately wasn't able to do that. But again, he showed a lot of heart. He took some good shots in there, Damien. He was firing back. So, I know I'm repeating myself now, he lost the fight, but it certainly wasn't down to a lack of effort.
Just a word on Alan Babic as well, Matthew. A lot of people very excited to watch Alan because he's exciting. He's all action for as long as his fights do last. From being in the opposite corner to him now, though, I know you said you've watched him previous bouts, but having been in the opposite corner, where do you think his career can go? Because people just see him as being someone who'll be fun for as long as the ride lasts. What do you make of what he can achieve?
Again, it's hard to say. He's got such a will to win, hasn't he? He comes out, and for a big man, he's certainly capable of throwing a lot of shots per round. How long he can keep that on going for, remains to be seen. But he's certainly a fan's favourite, isn't he? And he's such an entertaining fighter. And, the savage and all what comes with it. People really buying into that. And I wish him well. You know, I spoke to him afterwards. A great guy, a great entertainer. How far he'll go remains to be seen. Again, I learned nothing new. I do think someone who can really box, withstand that initial onslaught, who's got a bit of power, he could be in trouble, but it's going to be, it's going to be fun. He's always going to be an entertaining fight, and he's never going to be short of work.
Matthew, moving on to Campbell, obviously he's been announced for his third outing on the Conor Benn, Adrian Granados undercard. No opponent as of yet, but how key has it been to be able to get him back out, keep him active?
Absolutely, improvement in his second fight, and I think we'll see that improvement quite quickly. He's keeping busy, he's keeping active. Again, Campbell's one of the fortunate ones. He's fighting regular. So you're going to continue seeing an improvement in him. Yeah, like you say, the opponent hasn't been sorted yet. That should be sorted in the next week or so. But again, you want to see an improvement in the opponent. That will be the case. And an improvement in the performance. And I'm pretty sure that will be the case.
When you reflect on that last fight against Levi Dunn, Matthew, how pleasing was it to see the improvements, to see a much more composed version of Campbell, the one which I imagine you see in the gym, in comparison to that first performance when he showed just very desperately he wanted to impress, he wanted to get that stoppage victory? How much more pleasing was it to see the more settled version in that second fight?
Very pleasing. And like I say, people want things and they want things now. That's not going to be the case. Campbell would be better over a longer distance too. And that might sound a bit, when we saw him after his first fight, when he was puffing and panting after 4 rounds, but Campbell would be better over a longer distance. He was a lot more composed the second fight, shown a little bit more of what we can do, but only a little bit. We've not scratched the surface yet with Campbell. I see what Campbell's capable of. And in time, maybe not just the next fight, but in the next 12 months, 2 years, you're going to see everything what Campbell can do. And I think people are going to like what they see. And he's a good fighter. You like say improvements in the second fights as his coach. That's all we can ask for. And again, we want to see improvement again next time. And we want to see consistent improvement. That's what you should see in a young fighter who's fighting regular and got the experience around him.
Matthew, just a couple of other topics I want to quickly get your thoughts on, because I know you've got to shoot off very shortly. We're in the middle of a Wilder Fury kind of media press conference tour type thing. Just your thoughts firstly on what we saw the other day, a 6-minute video of the face-off between Deontay and Tyson. And then during the press conference, Deontay wasn't very engaging with the questions thrown to him, keeping himself quiet, had his headphones on. Just your thoughts on the different type of the different way that Deontay has gone about handling things this time around in comparison to the first 2 fights.
Yeah, I mean, obviously these things do matter. How much they actually matter, I don't really know. I just, looking at it from the outside, I just think Tyson has got his number now. I think he said it the other day. He's just going to roll over him like a steam truck. I think he's found the answer now. Wilder's still dangerous, still got that punch power, but I think we're going to see a decline in Wilder now. I don't see him beating Tyson. I do see Tyson doing a very, very similar job, possibly even quicker this time. So yeah, the mind games and things like that start. It's still an interesting fight. It's always interesting when you've got someone like Wilder who can punch, but I see a very, very similar outcome. And I think Wilder's days, best days, are behind him now.
People speak about Tyson and mind games and what have you. Do you think he's underneath the skin of Deontay? Do you think he has affected him deeply or not?
I do, and I just think the damaging way he beat him last time, that's got to leave mental scars for any fighters. And, sometimes you can, not excuses, sometimes there's legitimate reasons why you've not been at your best. You might have had little injuries, you might have had little niggles, you might have had issues going on out of the ring where you convince yourself, I can do better this time. But it was such a damaging defeat, such a one-sided defeat. That's got to leave mental scars. And physically, can you do anything about it? I don't think so. I think Tyson, as he said in his interview, he's going to roll all over him. And that really is what I see.
All right, Matthew, we'll leave it there now because I know you have got to shoot off. So I appreciate your time today. I will
No problem, Andy.
Soon. Thank you for speaking to Boxing Social.
Top man, thank you.